In this lecture, we're going to learn about deleted constructors. And this is a feature we have in C++ to disable some constructors and prevent them from being used to build objects. And the syntax to do that is ridiculously easy. All you have to do is say equals and say delete and put a semicolon at the end. And from this point on, you won't have to implement this constructor. And anytime somebody tries to use a syntax that is going to call this constructor, they are going to get a compiler error saying that they can't use this constructor because it was deleted. So for example, here we have disabled the default non-param constructor, we have disabled the copy constructor, and we have disabled the move constructor. If we try to use them, we're going to get a compiler error. So let's head over to Visual Studio Code and try this on some real code. Okay, so here we are in our working folder. The current project is deleted constructors. We are going to grab our template files like we always do, and we're going to paste that in our lecture, which is deleted constructors. And we're going to grab the class from the last lecture, which is the point class here. And we're going to reuse it in this lecture because we don't want to redesign it. So let's paste that in here. And then we're going to open this in Visual Studio Code by dragging and dropping here. This is going to open our project. We can open the main CPP file. We can open our class. We can open the files for our class point.h and point.cpp. And then we're going to close the sidebar here. So what we want to do is to mark a few constructors as deleted. So we want to delete the default non-param constructor. So what we're going to do in this class is say point, and then we're going to say that this constructor was deleted by using this syntax here. We're going to say equals and say delete, and this constructor from this point on will be prevented from being used in this class here. We're going to go down and delete all the other constructors we don't need. We are just going to leave in this constructor. That's what we want people to use to build our objects here. We have this much control. So we can disable the copy constructor. We're going to delete it. And we're going to disable the move constructor. We're also going to delete it. And after you delete the constructor, you don't have to implement that anymore in the CPP file. So what we're going to do is comment out all these constructors we don't want. So we're going to comment out the move constructor. We're going to comment out the copy constructor. And we're not going to implement the non-param default constructor. And you see that in our header files, we don't have any squiggly lines because these constructors are not implemented. Let's go back in main and use our point class. We're going to include that. We're going to include point. And then we're going to set up an object of point using the constructor that we support now. So we're going to say point and say P1, and we're going to use two parameters or two arguments. We're going to put in a few numbers here, 78.3, why not? And we're going to build an object and, for example, print information about this object. So we're going to say P1 print info, and you're going to see that this is going to work just fine. If we build, the build is going to be good as you see here, and we can bring up a terminal and actually try this out. We can clear and run rooster. We're going to see that we have the information about our point and everything is as we expect. But if we try to use other constructors, let's try to do that and use a non-param constructor by setting up our point like this. We're going to get a compiler error here because we're not allowed to use this constructor. If we go in, we're going to say the default constructor of point cannot be referenced. It is a deleted function. We have deleted it and people can't use it to build objects. And this is what you achieve with deleted constructors. We have also deleted a couple of other constructors. For example, the copy constructor is deleted. So if we try to build an object from the copy constructor, we're going to get a compiler error. Let's do that. We're going to set up another point, and we're going to say P0, for example, and we're going to put in some data. Let's put in 4.6 and 5.2. We can do this. And then we're going to try and construct P1 from P0. And we're going to do something like this. This is going to call the copy constructor. We need to use a dot here, not a comma, for P0 to be valid here. But you see that if we try to call the copy constructor, we're going to be prevented from doing this. because the copy constructor has been deleted. Okay, so we don't see the entire thing here. But if we hover over here, we see that the function that we are trying to call is a deleted function. Okay, so we can't call this. And if we try to build our program and ignore what we see from Visual Studio Code, we're going to get a compiler error. And it is going to say use of deleted function. The copy constructor was deleted. You can't build objects using the copy constructor. We can also see that the move constructor was deleted. We're going to set up a syntax which is going to build an object in place, and it is essentially going to be a temporary. So we're going to grab what we have here and we're going to cut it out, and then we're going to say std move, and we're going to pass in our temporary here, and this is a setup that is going to call the move constructor. But again, this is not going to work because the move constructor has been deleted. If we go in our class, we're going to see that it has been deleted, so we can't really build objects from our move constructor. Let's see what Visual Studio Code is saying here. Use of deleted function, const point reference. This is not very clear, but we can try to build and see what we get. We're going to get a compiler error, and we're going to see that we are trying to use a function that has been deleted, and that function is the move constructor. So it has been deleted and we cannot use it. So, and you see that Visual Studio Code has came to its senses. It is saying that it is the move constructor, but this is really all this lecture is about. If you don't want a constructor to be used to build objects, you can delete it, and people are going to get a compiler error if they try to use it. Okay, some of you might be asking, why would I want to delete my constructor? Because what we want as developers is to give people more flexibility in using what we develop. But sometimes it really doesn't make sense to do some things. For example, sometimes you don't want your object copied because copying objects is going to make your design really shaky, and sometimes you really want this. Unfortunately, I don't have an easy example I can give you right now, and you are definitely going to come across this in your career as a C++ developer. So note that you can delete your constructors and disable people from using them to build objects of your classes. This is really all we set out to do in this lecture. I hope you found it interesting. We are going to stop here in this one. In the next one, we're going to learn about initialize or list constructors. Go ahead and finish up here and meet me there.